Meet Shidou, the luckiest student to have ever lived. His entire life revolves around dating hot spirits, convincing them to fall in love with him, and expanding his harem with the most beautiful and loyal concubines you've ever seen. Aside from being praised and showered with love, these women will actually die for him. Stick to the end to find out more about Shidou's lustful escapades. Inside a highly classified base, government officials held a beautiful sorceress hostage. Scientists were using her as a lab rat to experiment with their perverted fetishes until the base was ambushed by a horde of sexy dolls. That is the perfect way to kick off a show. Elsewhere, the MC of this fanatical harem show, Shidou, was being diagnosed to check if he could still mate with the hotties. Talk about a lucky stud. And here came the horde of women, worried and anxious to get back on the fierce cowboy for another test run. Oh, Shidou, won't you share some of the spoils with us? He was then told of another examination and went out to exam room 2, where he found the redhead Kotori getting frisky with the innocent Mai. Shidou acted like he wasn't interested, but we all know he was about that life. As he stood there gobbling up the drama, these two gave him one heck of a show. Soon after, he went out to get some groceries and walked through the market looking for more hotties to recruit. This man's appetite knows no bounds. Upon finding his first victim knocked out, my guy didn't hesitate to grab her and take her with him. Wait a minute, isn't this kidnapping? Well, luckily, Nia played along with it and started teasing him about her wiggly peaches. However, upon entering her apartment, he noticed how she was a manga artist and instantly clocked her as the famous writer of a show he loved. Silver Bullet. She was the famous Honjo, but that was her pen name. And this threw him completely off track since he always anticipated a guy. What are you going to do now, big guy? Will you shoot your shot? Does this man even have a chance? Fortunately for him, he was a world-class chef, and Nia was as hungry as a boar. This must be fate since he was praised and even tutored on how to sketch. Who knew these two would hit it off? Also, why is she in a maid costume? Never mind if Shidou is cool with it, so are we. At the end of the day, Nia tried seducing him using her amateur flirting skills, but our guy was too dense to understand. She even started pleading with him to go on a date, and this has started to give off desperate vibes. All of a sudden, Nia underwent a remarkable transformation. Something straight out of a fairy tale manual, if you ask me. Elsewhere, the president of the facility, Isaac, was fuming because Nia escaped their grasps. Meanwhile, Shidou stood there paralyzed while his newly acquired concubine kept on putting on a show. He asked her how she knew about him and his secret of dating spirits and making them fall in love with him. That's when she unlocked her book, Racial, which served as a source of knowledge since it can see everything that's happening in the world. So wait, a book named Racial, which was an angel and contained omniscient information. This was one heck of a surprise for poor old Shidou, who was only used to hitting on thick damsels. For some reason, this ticked him off since she was completely out of his league. To make matters worse, she informed him how she was captured by Dem, the evil corporation they vowed to destroy. Just then, she wrote something in the book that coerced Shidou to act like a savage. Hold up, are you telling me the book can command others to do its bidding as well? Forget about Goku Saitama, Nia is the next superpower of anime. She was able to see anything and do whatever she wanted. Who was able to stop her? Afterward, they set a date for next Saturday, and Nia is excited to give it a shot. Shidou was being guided by his waifu gang, who wanted to make sure the date went by splendidly. After all, if Nia joined their group, they would be unstoppable. This wasn't a simple date, it was a crucial world matter. The date hadn't even started, and Nia figured out that he was taking advice from the gang. God damn, this is one scary lady. She kept on dragging him around and collecting manga. This is not how he expected the date to go. Then again, she has to remain up to date. After all was said and done, they were walking on the street when he accidentally fell on her. However, the romantic mood was ruined when she confessed her love for 2D guys. After the recent development, Shidou had to go to the bathroom to discuss matters with his team. They revealed how manga artists and weebs tend to prefer 2D characters they fantasize over in their heads, and this gave them an idea. Shidou ended up cosplaying as one of her favorite anime characters, and to be honest, she was lost for words. His bad boy attitude arouses her interests, and he tried leaning in for a kiss when she discarded his efforts. He was doing so well until he gave in to his lust. Nia explained how the real character would never stoop so low and ended up teaching him a bitter lesson. Well, that was quite unsuccessful. However, this trial gave them another idea. While Nia was brooding in her room, contemplating what to do about her love life, she suddenly received a delivery. It was a demo of a new game, and as she started playing it, she recognized how the kid looked a lot similar to Shidou. Even so, her love for games and 2D characters blinded her perspective, and she spent hours playing the game. All the while, the game was nothing but bait orchestrated by Shidou and his gang. As soon as she used Ratataskr, the truth ended up backfiring against them. Even so, these worthless bunch of hair and beauties weren't giving up. They insisted on getting her to fall in love with him, and suggested writing a manga with Shidou as the MC. Quite the ironic move, wasn't it? A story within a story. After several deliberations, they ended up agreeing on the terms and received a call from Nia, who was well aware of their plan to write a manga. Even so, she refused to read it and told them not to bother. What a scary aura this woman emanates. I certainly wouldn't want to get on her bad end. Nia continued to make things interesting by placing a wager with the redhead Kotori, who is acting like the boss of the meeting. If their manga outsold hers at the upcoming Comic-Con, she promised to read their work. However, Nia is quite often interrupted by Kurumi, another angel with unearthly abilities, and hers was the ability to control time, and she was the one responsible for saving Nia from Dem. As a token of gratitude, she wanted to ask for a favor, which involved finding the spirit of origin. Elsewhere, Shidou and his gang got to the office, where they planned on sketching their manga. Our boy freaked out since this was a passion he wanted to hide from his wives. What's he so afraid of that they'd ask him to sketch their nudes? After comparing and contrasting all their sketches, they started highlighting each other's strengths and weaknesses. The green-haired girl, Natsumi, was given the lead role of the artist, and everyone was tasked with helping her complete the manga. Meanwhile, Kurumi met up with her alternative versions and revealed how the spirit of origin was undefeatable at their current level. No shit, Sherlock. I could have told you that from the get-go. The following day, everyone went to work and seemed to struggle for a while until she met up with another manga artist named Takujo. She used to be Nia's former friend until they broke off, that is. They posed as her relative to glean information from her and learned how Nia was the one who ghosted Takujo once business started booming for her. Ouch, that was harsh. Fame does tend to corrupt the soul, after all. Even so, Kotori and Shidou weren't willing to give up and decided to fight for Nia and protect her from her own dark side. After all, Raciel is not an easy influence on her. Later that night, the gang finalized their manga and were looking like walking zombies. Natsumi worked harder than everyone, and without realizing it, she kept on blabbering about friendship when she suddenly fell to the ground. Would you look at that? They actually did it. It was finally time for the Daya at this rate. Everyone wanted to know where their inspiration for the manga came from, and that's when they noticed Nia hotcakes. Shidou was starting to feel confident, and all of a sudden, Nia was confronted by her longtime friend Takujo. Oh wow, this was super awkward. Nia was lost for words, even though Takujo's inanimate 2D characters over real-life people. Soon after, these two got into an intense argument in front of everyone, and they seemed like hopeless lovers. To be honest, I don't see a way she'd join his choir anytime soon. They were both down to their last copy and ended up in a tie. Nia then conceded defeat and read their stupid little manga. Despite being disgusted by it and considering it amateur hour, she decided to summon Raziel, look through the things she said, and give Shidou another shot. They were all thrilled by this, and things took a drastic turn when black flames started engulfing Nia. After wailing in agony, she transformed into her dark form, and everyone was panicking. Isaac was looking through, excited about the recent developments. It seems he orchestrated the entire charade to lower her guard and unleash her inner demons. What cunning. Their gorgeous warrior Ellen showed up to clean things up. It seems Ellen served Isaac and worked for them. Humane. However, Shidou came through with his ice powers. Oh wow, I didn't know Shidou had the Aokiji in him. But this whole talk no jujutsu was getting quite lame. Stop talking and fight already. Fortunately, another wild card called Artemisia stepped in alongside Isaac, who is the mastermind behind this entire ambush. That's one too many characters all at one. However, the only way he was able to do so was with true love's kiss. How poetically corny. He then took Nia up to the roof to show her the sunrise and how the dawn of a new chapter was upon them. Despite losing her powers, Nia seemed totally calm about the whole incident. What a chill and brave waifu she will turn out to become. The following day in school, Shidou was caught daydreaming about his growing harem base and was looking forward to welcoming Nia to his warm embrace. It seems she still had some energy in her, and Shidou was abruptly awoken by his teacher's weird remarks. She kept on blabbering about her birthday and how lonely she felt now that all her friend Shidou's had rushed to the headquarters to discuss matters with Shidou, his right-hand woman. I'm guessing she was his favorite out of all the spirits. She revealed an unknown spirit who was responsible for all of this, and gave it the code name Zodiac. However, Dem beat them to the chase. After Isaac used Beelzebub to gain an upper hand using their warships, they tried attacking her all at once. However, she possessed the angelic powers of Michael and was able to shut down the robotic cyborgs with just a touch. I'm guessing she possesses the power of negation. Not only that, but she possessed lasers capable of destroying an entire fleet. What a monstrous ability. Shidou was starting to shake in his boots until Kotori revealed a 3D projection of him. How resourceful is this little runt? They planned to launch the 3-dimensional projection into space, and Shidou tried rising her up using his charms. Nevertheless, nothing he said or did worked until she finally gave up and told him her name, Hoshinia. The gang then voted on a decision, and they decided to spice up the conversation by taking the naughty route. Shidou told her she'd be craving him, and everyone gasped by their interaction. Is this guy's whole job really raising up spirits and dating them for fun? Who knew being a player would pay the bills? What college did he go to, or course did he take, cause I'd like to volunteer? Hoshinia, however, declined his proposal, and Shidou proceeded to beg her to come with him. Now you're just starting to sound desperate, man. You got to take no for an answer. After threatening the sanctity of Earth, Shidou decided to give up, and Kotori gave him a mouthful after he failed. And no, it wasn't French. Poor Shidou. He failed to convince another beauty to join his cause. Even so, he still had more to spare, and they came in to console him and hopefully receive his praise. Unfortunately for them, Kotori didn't have time to chit-chat and prepared a spaceship to fly into deep space. Hold up, how rich are they? Not even the government possessed this level of technology. Soon after, the inbuilt AI started bossing everyone around, telling them to get strapped in and follow the rulebook to a T. This AI is sure fussy. Not long after that, a wheeled chairman by the name of Elliot rolled in and was introduced as the chairman. He continued to praise Shidou, but was interrupted by Nia, who gave him a mean attitude since she looked him up before and found that he was one of the founding members of DEM. I told you her power was terrifying. Elliot explained how he was a changed man after meeting the Spirit of Origin and dedicated his life to protecting spirits from any harm. He also confessed his love for the Spirit of Origin, and this was starting to sound weird. Just then, their ship was under attack, and it was none other than Isaac and Dem. Things are starting to get exciting up in here. As the gang was running for their lives, they ran into the big bad wolf and his demonic grimoire, which sucked them into another dimension. Upon waking up from his nap, Shidou found himself in a pig costume out in the middle of nowhere, being chased by a silly cartoonish wolf. Luckily, he managed to hide inside a hut, where he found the cute Yoshino wearing what looks like a Red Riding Hood outfit. She was told to deliver some groceries for Grandma, and as expected, another wolf was waiting inside until it got shot through the window. Nia and Tuka came to the rescue and used their abilities to charm the beast. Afterward, Nia explained how they were stuck inside a world created by Beelzebub and how she was transformed into Silver Bullet, a character from her own manga. Well, that was unfair. Elsewhere, Kotori was saved by the Yamai twins, who found her lying unconscious and jumped, starting her heart. Afterward, she lit a fire and induced a magical vision using her innate abilities. The Yamai twins, on the other hand, were Hansel and Gretel, who filled their bellies with candy and got chased by a vile witch seeking to gobble them up whole. What an unfortunate outcome for these poor trios. Meanwhile, the spaceship alarms started going off, and the weirdo AI assistant started giving life advice like she was some sort of shaman or something. Left with no option, the vice commander took charge and started reinforcing the ship to defend itself from oncoming attacks. Just then, they were ambushed by Dem soldiers who were tricked by a hologram projection of a tiger and had their asses handed to them by the crew members. Back in the story world, Shidou and the rest met Kotori at the gate, where the stubborn guard refused to let them through. That's when a carriage pulled up and Natsumi revealed herself as the princess. While trying to beguile the guard, her Cinderella routine wore off and backfired. At this rate, this hopeless bunch had no option. As a result, Kotori used her fire to turn everyone into majestic royal concubines. I wonder what fictional character has this power. As they stepped into the royal ball, they were introduced to the mermaid, who was actually Mayo. Her excitement was all over the place, and she started showing off her Little Mermaid costume and vibes. Oh wow, she sure was a hottie. Just then the emperor walked in, and the shorty was actually Origami. As everyone praised her outfit, Shidou realized that she was actually naked. Not gonna lie, but she looked amazing. Her storyline was known as the Emperor's New Cloth, and the rest of the gang cheered her up as well. Not long after that, the wolf came crashing in alongside ogres and hellhounds. Well, we are about to experience a bloodbath. Shidou started the fight by launching the first strike and dealt with the monsters real quick. It seems this was the Shidou from their manga, and now there were two of them who knew their little projects would come to save them. The newfound Shidou used his sword to cut through space and open a portal for everyone. He then gave some advice to the average version of himself and told him to save as many people as he could. Who does he think is Superman? Now that they were back to their former reality, the spaceship was equipped with its trusted warriors and was prepared to unleash hell upon them and their malevolent schemes. The wheelchair chairman, Elliot, was on the elevator discussing Isaac and his plans. As they met up face to face, these two started discussing matters like old friends. That's when Isaac threatened him to join them, and Elliot started walking like it was a Christmas Day miracle. Meanwhile, the team was in deep space, staring at the monstrous aura of Hoshimiya, who was about to destroy their masterpiece. However, Kotori used her defensive barrier and was thrilled to fight against them. Shidou didn't let down and teleported towards the monster, who wasn't willing to negotiate and started hurling meteors at him. This was not going to be an easy fight, and he summoned his angelic abilities to match her speed and power. Meanwhile, them then were closing in, and this upset the waifu gang, who were aching to dive into battle. Kotori told them to give them hell, and the brutal onslaught had already begun. Dem sent them a transmission, threatening them to back down before their ship gets destroyed. However, Kotori wasn't going to back down without a fight, and started antagonizing the enemy. Now that's how a leader is supposed to act. She then commanded everyone to stand by until the right moment came. What did this little devil have in store? Meanwhile, Shidou was putting up a decent fight until Artemisia came to thwart his plans. But in an exciting turn of events, Origami joined the battlefield, and this started to sound like a serious war zone. Chuka came to his aid, and the Star Wars was underway in deep space. Also, how were they able to breathe? Was it because they were spirits? They didn't even have a suit on. Just then, Kotori unleashed a barrage of missiles upon them, unleashing a world of pain they never knew was possible. Despite her unearthly attack, Dem struck back with a trump card of their own. However, Kotori saw this coming and used the spirit powers of everyone on the ship to gain an upper hand. After siphoning their energy, Dim stood no chance against their might. Shidou wasn't letting down either and used it to distract and attack Hoshimiya. Meanwhile, Artemis unleashed a surprise attack, catching Shidou and his new lover off guard. We were then flashed back into Hoshimiya's past, but it was abruptly interrupted when Shidou's waifu came to welcome him back. Out of nowhere, Hoshimiya teleported behind him and her whole demeanor changed. It seems the real version of herself was unlocked after Shidou proved himself. Well, that's another beauty added to his wish list. Nia sounded a bit jealous, and the rest of the cuties started complimenting her. But as always, Kotori took charge and started bossing him around. She sent him to the new bathhouse, where he met a thirsty Origami who wasn't willing to take no for an answer. But guess who came rushing in? Yap, the rest of his anxious lovebirds, who couldn't wait to get their hands on him. Come on now, this is one too many for one fellow man. Whereas Isaac was bedridden after his battle with Elliot. Wait a minute. How powerful was that wheelchair dude? Even Ellen was surprised by this upset. But all this didn't matter since Shidou was getting ready for his date and was taken away to a park to commence his romantic escapade. In another flashback, Hoshimiya was learning the names of the stars and recounted her experience to Shidou, who was busy chatting with Kotori and the gang. Oh man, You're missing out big time since Hashimiya was a walking bombshell. Out of all his wives, I'd have to say she's the prettiest. Since her hair was quite long, Shidou suggested cutting it or tying it up, and everyone in Who voted for his next decision. Are they seriously turning his dating life into a game? That's when Shidou asked her to come to his house and was planning on some Netflix and chill, if you know what I mean. He ended up fixing her hair and giving her some of Kotori's cloth, who was apparently his sister. That makes so much sense now. Once all was said and done, he took her to a cultural restaurant and the museum. He even bought her a fan and started raising her up at the park, where she confessed her love to him. Well, that quick. Unfortunately for him, she was the jealous type and insisted he ditch all his way fuse. Ouch. She sure got him there. She wasn't the type to be included in a harem, I suppose. After leaving him high and dry, Shidou went back home feeling flustered, and that's when Kotori lashed out at him. Even in school, no one recognized him, and I'm guessing Hoshimiya had a hand in all of this. All his wives forgot who he was and started bullying him. Even the twins disdained him, and Nia told him to buzz off. Things were not going his way, and Shidou was starting to grow anxious and desperate. I wonder what magic she used to put this into effect. He then used his artifact and used it to summon Hoshimiya. She started acting all innocent and cuddly since things were going exactly as she planned. The following day, the wives got together at Kotori's place and started discussing the weirdo they met. They all had the same experience and started feeling weird about it. They tried racking their brains about it, but nothing came up. Luckily, Origami remembered him since she had split personalities and helped take a break from the curse. Meanwhile, Hoshimiya had Shidou so all to herself, and it seems her split personality was the worst out of them all. Does every spirit have split personality? Perhaps their human self, an angelic version. Out of nowhere, Origami came by to greet Shidou, and that's when the evil Tuka showed up and attacked them. Wait a minute, what's going on here? It's all happening so fast. Origami felt lost and tried de-escalating the situation. Using her talk no jutsu, she managed to convince both evil Tuka and Hoshimiya. Also, what did Shidou do to receive hatred from Tuka? The poor guy stood there speechless and didn't know what to do or say. Origami then suggested going on a date with Shidou, and the one who stole his kiss would be declared the winner. What the hell? That was anticlimactic. This show sure has the most absurd plot twists in anime history. This went from a simple date to a competitive mating contest. Elsewhere, Kotori was in the spaceship looking for Tuka and Origami, who seemed to have gone rogue on them. The curse Hoshimiya placed on them was still in effect. Since Kotori was unable to remember Shidou or her past, the AI suddenly detected their spirit energy and zoomed into them, fighting amongst one another. Meanwhile, 4 of them went on top of a tower, where Hoshimiya started complaining about feeling ill. That's when she started seeing flashbacks and throwing up. Shidou used the opportunity to interrogate Tuka, who started explaining what inverses are. She told him that they were the original specimen designed by the Spirit of Origin and how they were dulled to become compatible with humans. Tuka sure had a temper, and this caused Hoshimiya to lash out in anger as they continued to fight. They went all out and transformed into their true form, unleashing hell. They sure were seductive, though Kotori didn't know what to do and felt useless while Hoshimiya and Tuka started battling like crazy fanatics. What was anyone going to do here? Shidou asked Kotori to trust in him and requested assistance from Origami, who transformed into a beautiful angel. Is everyone in this show super hot all of a sudden? Hoshimiya used her trump card and almost caught a lacking. Even so, this inverse spirit was ready for the smoke and wasn't letting down that easily. That's when Shidou grabbed Hoshimiya and tried talking some sense to her. Origami, on the other hand, was keeping Toka busy. Even so, Hoshimiya wasn't about to sit back and watch. Shidou was growing restless and started begging his former wives to trust him. However, they had no feelings for him and started arguing with one another. Despite their reluctance, Kotori asked them to go ahead with the plan and convinced them to give Shidou a shot. Meanwhile, Tuka and Origami were knee-deep in battle, giving it their all while Hoshimiya accidentally attacked Shidou. She cut off his limbs and started crying for help. That's when she almost inverted into her dark form, had it not been for Shidou granting his forgiveness and warmly embracing her. This show is worse than Naruto's famous speeches. You should resolve things through violence, not through corny conversations. Unfortunately, Shidou ended up kissing her and provoking the envy of Tuka. As she was about to strike him down, she changed her mind and decided to give him a kiss. She suddenly fell unconscious, and Shidou felt a sigh of relief. Later that night, he and Hoshimiya were gazing upon the stars while she started narrating her past to him. Is she his new favorite? And here I thought he was going to choose Nia. The following day, while heading to class, he ran into his ex-girlfriend. She started acting smug and tried teasing him. She then proceeded to threaten the rest of his wives, claiming her angel was the strongest one of them all. I wonder what ability she possesses. Shidou took her out of the class and insisted she hand over her powers to him. Surprisingly, Kurumi agreed under one condition. Of course, the scene suddenly shifted to Isaac informing his lackeys of their failure to capitalize on the opportunity given to them. It seems Dam was losing the battle, but that's when Isaac revealed his trump card to win the war. How many tricks did the sleazebag have up his sleeves, I wonder? Meanwhile, Shidou was being confronted by his harem not to go with Kurumi since she might stab him in the back and do unspeakable things to him. Deep down, I think that's what he secretly craves. Shidou has always struck me as the masochistic type. After meeting up with her on the roof, Kurumi started things off by flirting with him and complimenting his strength. However, our boy jumped straight to the point, and Dim's agent Ellen was stopped in her tracks after their plan was leaked. Just then, she summoned the shadow clones Isaac gave her, and that's when the Time Angel showed up to even the odds. Wait a minute, whose side are they on? Meanwhile, she'd have spaced out while talking to Kurumi, who told him how she came to devour his powers. So basically she wanted to kill him while he wanted to seal her up. What kind of relationship did these two have in the past? Sounds a bit toxic if you ask me. Kurumi then used her seductive prowess to convince our thirsty little chap. She continued by suggesting a spicy wager. Whoever falls in love first will submit their powers. Oh wow, what a brutal bet. Was he really about to put his life on the line for a girl? After hearing what he did, Kotori started scolding him like a little baby who stole candy from the store. Where were their parents though? She'd have fought back and started tickling her, and that's when his wave fuse came in and she saw him abusing her. They did not take this lightly and ganged up on him, accusing him of being a pervert. Afterward, Kotori explained the situation with Kurumi and how everyone should prepare. Hoshimiya chipped in and started arguing with Nia, who knew what Kurumi was up to. Wait a minute, is the Time Angel Kurumi talks about a plot twist? If that's the case, that does make her angelic powers the strongest they've ever seen. Also, what was her beef with the Spirit of Origin, and why did she want to kill it? None of them seemed to understand her motive, and that's when a screen was shown of the earlier battle with them. It seems Kurumi was the one who leaked the information, and Kotori was super upset about the whole situation. All this is starting to get confusing, honestly. The following day, Kurumi showed up at his doorstep and decided to walk him to school. He took her to the local cat hangout, and she learned firsthand how cats were awful. Elsewhere, her doppelgangers had a meeting where they discussed the details of their nefarious plan. What are these vile witches scheming this time? Back at school, Kurumi was dumbstruck by the meal Shidou brought to school, and this made her feel a bit jealous since his waifus were taking care of him real good. She sure has her work cut out for her, especially if she wants him to fall in love with her. The twins, Tuka and Origami, were watching on in excitement as their husband was flirting with another woman. Where did he even find supportive girls like these? These two started feeding one another and looked like the perfect couple from the outside. If only they didn't have to devour or seal one another. But on a completely different topic, I still believe Hoshimiya is the prettiest one of them all, followed by Nia, then inverse Tuka. Fight me in the comments if you disagree. After they finished gobbling up their lunch, Kurumi made the first move and asked him out on a date. I'm guessing she wears the pants in this relationship. What a terrifying girl. I like her. Afterward, the waifu came to his aid, and Kotori acknowledged his efforts. She decided to arrange a meeting and discuss the upcoming date on Wednesday, which happened to be Valentine's Day. Everyone had their own opinion regarding how Shidou should act on the date, and Kotori suggested giving all the chocolates to Shidou so that Kurumi's gift doesn't force him to fall in love with her. Not a bad plan at all. Later that night, Shidou was in for one rude awakening when lust slithered into his bed and started rushing all the blood to his idiotic brain. After kicking them out, He was confronted by Dem's lapdog. The shadow clone surrounded him and tried unaliving him in secret. However, his regeneration ability was a broken ability, and they gave up and left. Upon walking into the living room, he met an adult version of Kotori, and boy was she smoking hot. I mean, she is his sister, and all but this is starting to feel weird. Why are all the waifus acting strange? They tried flirting with him, and that's when he saw Nia and the others shrunken as punishment. Kotori explained how this was a training meant to sensitize his stimulus towards seduction by constantly flashing their melons around. He'd eventually get used to them and resist Kurumi's temptation. This is definitely the type of plan Kotori would come up with. Afterward, they went to the kitchen to cook something delicious for him in hopes of also training him to resist her cooking. These gulls must really love Shidou since they are going through all of this. For his sake, I hope he understands how hard they have been working. Each person had their own technique of swaying Shidou's heart and decided to go all out in hopes of becoming his favorite. All of a sudden, they started arguing amongst one another about what was best for Shidou's health. They huddled up and started talking about their love life and how it felt. Out of nowhere, Kurumi showed up like the big bad villain she was and scared everyone to their core. After asking to join them in the cooking, Kotori and the rest agreed out of spite. At this point, it was more of a contest of skill and ego. However, things weren't going according to Kotori's plan since this was the first time she made chocolate. Afterward, they gifted all their chocolate to Shidou, who should be considered the luckiest guy in the world. The following day, Shidou was given more chocolates from Tuka and the twins, who started showering him with praise. That's when Origami outplayed everyone with a chocolate statue, garnering the envy of the boys in class. I told you he was the luckiest. Their envy was a curse upon him and his children, to be honest. However, they got on their knees after receiving some from the other girls. Even so, the mood was interrupted when Kurumi walked into the class with an eerie background music playing. Later that day, Shidou asked her to leave and the team started voting where they should go, but he told them not to interfere this time around. Would you look at that? The student has become the master. Kotori was proud of his progress, and Shidou took our malevolent damsel to the lingerie store. Oh wait, what was this guy thinking? It's still the first date, and he's already thinking about third base. Talk about a perverted mind. Kurumi was taken aback by this, but welcomed his enthusiasm. She decided to give things a chance and challenged him to make her fall in love with him. Surprisingly, the date went well, and they headed to the park, where they exchanged Valentine presents. Aren't they the adorable couple? The chocolates tasted delicious, and the team was gauging her happiness level, which was rising by the minute. All of a sudden, Shidou asked her why she wanted to kill the spirit of origin, and that's when she took out a gun and crushed the drones and his earpiece. For the first time in a while, they were truly alone. After taking him to an abandoned warehouse, she shot herself and teleported them to a distant past where she saved a kitten. It seems she was an ordinary girl living a normal life with a casual friend. Everything was going by smoothly until a frigid ice monster attacked. Fortunately, it was destroyed by another spirit, and she introduced herself to Kurumi as a hero of justice. Afterwards, she took her to the roof and asked Kurumi if she wanted powers to save the world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when Kurumi transformed into a spirit. She was able to access unearthly powers, and the two went on a mission to destroy evil spirits one at a time. They consistently removed the inconveniences. With her temporal magic, Kurumi could do no wrong. She was a student by day, chilling with her friends and making lame excuses to ditch them like she was Hannah Montana. And she was also a vigilante by night, getting rid of the scum that roamed the earth. However, one fateful day, she saw the real truth of her so-called ally, who was actually consuming the spirits Kurumi killed off. Not only that, but the last spirit she killed was her best friend. Well, that was unexpected. After seeing the truth, Shidou was shocked to the core. Despite seeing how horrible the spirit of origin was, he was still reluctant to help Kurumi kill her. Even so, she vowed to end the diabolical monster and asked Shidou to help her erase the horrible past. Did she really plan to go back in time and rewrite things in hopes of convincing Shidou? She started undressing and convincing him to sleep with her. However, their wholesome reunion was interrupted by the shadow clones from Dem, who tried ambushing them and learned the bitter price of time magic. God, Kurumi sure is overpowered. Elsewhere, Isaac was being scolded for failing once again, and his shadow clones came to his aid, trying to get rid of the girls. Well, it seems his plan for world dominance wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Meanwhile, Shidou was nursing Kurumi back to health when her other half walked in, explaining what happened. She told him how he had already died, and didn't make a lot of sense actually until we saw a flashback of the time they met on the roof. It seems that Artemis caught Shidou lacking and inflicted a fatal wound on him. The Waifus who were eavesdropping stepped in and started defending his honor, and a fierce battle was underway until Artemis beheaded Shidou on the spot. Kurumi managed to teleport herself away and discuss matters with her other self. All the while, carnage was ensuing since most of the wave he experienced in inverse due to Shidou's death. Hold up Kurumi's time, magic didn't work on Shidou. What the hell is happening here? In a desperate attempt, Kurumi stole a kiss and realized a change in her powers. The current Shidou wasn't following and felt confused by all of this. She mentioned how his kiss was able to recover her sealed abilities, and after receiving the permission of her other counterparts, the main Kurumi vowed to do what is necessary in the present. Chito was told how Dem tried attacking him countless times, and all the while it was Kurumi who kept on protecting him and concealing his memory of the incidents. Since she kept on rewinding time again and again, her spirit powers were exhausted, and that's what caused the main body to lose consciousness. Shidou's puny little brain couldn't handle all of this at once, and the main Kurumi made her grand entrance by scolding the copy and discarding everything she said. Well, at least she has a sense of pride. They vanished into thin air, and the main Kurumi started confronting the snitch of what she did. However, after hearing her genuine confession, they decided to show some leniency for now. Even so, things weren't going to go by smoothly since the spirit of origin showed up and made her an offer. However, Kurumi wasn't having it and started shooting like a maniac. After countless shots, she managed to hit the bullseye and uncovered the true form of the spirit of origin. Surprise, surprise, it was Kotori's assistant, Murasan. Oh wow, I bet no one saw this coming. Elsewhere, Shidou made it back to his harem and asked them to help him save Kurumi from damnation. That's what you call an exciting cliffhanger. I appreciate you viewing my anime recap, Unruly Family. Please let me know what you think about this anime recap by liking, sharing, and commenting. And please subscribe to the channel to help us reach 5,000 subscribers.
Take you